Fight Night Atlanta, Kamaru Usman versus Joaquin Buckley wrapped up last night, and wow. I mean, do I look dumb? Does my prediction look stupid, as well as many other predictions? Let's be fair now. It was many, many, many people were thinking Joaquin Buckley was going to run away with this fight. That was far from the truth. We saw Kamaru Usman not only look really, really good, but he was doing some things we hadn't seen in a while and things he hadn't really done in his career throughout his title reign. One of the main things was shooting for takedowns in from the center, from the middle of the octagon, from not really by the cage as he usually does, in which he presses his opponent up against the cage and then gets the takedown from there. Usman was shooting takedowns on Joaquin Buckley. I think he got 4 out of 7 or something. It was domination, utterly dominate. I think you could give one round to Joaquin Buckley. That's about it. Anyway, so I'm very disappointed. More than anything, I feel like this is literally Ian Gary versus Carlos Prates all over again. I'm rooting for Joaquin Buckley. I think he's going to win it. He has the skill set to do it. Doesn't even put the output until like the fifth round. And that's what was so frustrating because Joaquin Buckley's gas tank did not look bad. Like it actually, this was the first time Joaquin Buckley ever went to a fifth round in his UFC career. He didn't look bad. He was still fighting gas. Usman was looking a little bit more gassed at the end of the fifth round. Really frustrating. Frustrating. And also, I just want to talk about real quick the man in the background, Mike Beltran. This guy has reffed like half the fights for this card. The last fight night, he was reffing half the fights. You would think with the protest in LA, this guy would have, some shit to do as a fucking sheriff's guy. Just send him over there, you know, or to send him to a prison so he could go fucking have another inmate murdered or something. But, either way, I don't know why Mike Beltran is constantly assigned these fights. It really sucks that he has been the ref for like 50% of the last fights of the last two fight nights. It's really annoying. Anyway, back to Usman versus Buckley. Yeah, Usman, it was a lot of great takedown. In the first two rounds, he just controlled him on the ground for a long time. So Buckley had some good exchanges, a couple good moments on the feet, but it's like, he never really followed up with it, nor was he that accurate in the pocket, let's be honest. Joaquin Buckley threw hard. He swung with all his might, but he wasn't very accurate, and he would swing very, very wildly and miss a lot. And Usman, much more composed, much more patient. He would pick him off, at distance. With the jab, the jab was really good for Usman throughout this fight. The jab has been his main weapon in his striking realm throughout his career. And Buckley, it's just crazy to me because we've seen Buckley defend against takedowns. We've seen him, do good against wrestlers like Covington. And he couldn't stop. He only stopped, 2 or 3 out of like 7? It was horrible. And he looked so lost when he was on his back, when Usman was on top of him. It looked like his training camp wasn't even preparing for this. Like they had totally, I know that Joaquin Buckley in the build-up to the fight was saying Usman's going to be my biggest test. This would be my most impressive win, and I agree. But it seemed like the training camp, the way he fought, seemed like a training camp that underestimated Kamaru Usman by the way that he was getting taken down so easily and looked so lost on the bottom. It seems like they really thought Usman's knee, just like many of us fans, to be fair, they thought Usman's knees were done, and there's just no way this guy's going to shoot takedowns like that, and let alone takedowns that he doesn't really shoot in his career, shooting from the center of the octagon. Kamaru Usman looked great in this fight, and at moments like this, it almost feels like I look very stupid, and I do feel very stupid for picking Joaquin Buckley now, especially when you look at Kamaru Usman's last fight against Khamzat Chimaev. You realize he did very, very well on short notice against Khamzat, and for Khamzat Chimaev, that kind of that fight ages a little bit better after this performance of Usman coming back from a long layoff and taking on a guy on a red-hot win streak like Joaquin Buckley, who's had a great 2024 and gets smoked by Usman, gets dominated. I mean, let's look at these stats. 137 total. He landed 137 total strikes to 51. Crazy. And then significant strikes. Again, Joaquin Buckley technically has more significant strikes, but like I said, I don't know if all those landed because if you rewatch and see, a lot of those shots are hitting. He has some good shots to Usman's body, but he's also missing quite a few of those or just grazing, and Usman's doing a good job at using his arms and hands to deflect those shots in his shoulders. Now, takedowns. So God, it was even worse than I thought. 4 out of 13 takedowns. I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, I'm glad he stopped some, but at that point, he had already dominated the first couple rounds. I think Usman won every round except for round 4, maybe. That's the only one I could. No, I would say round 5 you could give to Buckley, but overall, it's Usman 4-1. Anyway, I want to know what you guys think where these fighters go from here. Personally, I don't know if Kamaru Usman should get an immediate, the winner of Islam Makhachev versus JDM. It would be cool, be a cool fight. I wouldn't be mad if he gets it. But there's a lot of confusion with welterweight, a little bit of a confusion, I should say, with welterweight because Shavkat, I think, is still injured. We don't really know what the UFC is doing with him. He's ranked number 1. He had a canceled fight against Bilal, and then since then he just been very quiet, not really knowing what we're going to do with Shavkat. Bilal Muhammad, who knows what the UFC wants to do with him. Knowing the UFC, they probably want to get him out, push him out as fast as possible, just trying to get him to retire early because they hate him. But I think for build-up and, animosity, I've been saying for a while, I made a video about it, Kamaru Usman versus Bilal Muhammad would be so much fun. A lot of fun build-up, a lot of fun trash talk, animosity that's gone back like almost a year now. Anyway, guys, let me know what you guys thought about this fight. Let me know if you thought Joaquin Buckley, or did you think Kamaru Usman was going to get it, and now you're really, really happy that me and many other MMA YouTubers look really, really stupid picking Joaquin Buckley. Anyway, guys, please comment what you guys think. Thank you for watching, liking, subscribing. And I think at this point we need to know that when Kamaru Usman whips out the green and white paint, it's over. He's going to win that fight. We should have known by now.